little more oil in my lamp, keep it burning. A little more oil in my lamp, I pray. A little more oil in my lamp, keep it burning. Keep it burning till the break of day. The congregation used to sing this when I lived in Jamaica, again and again in harmony. It poses, I think, the question of today. Namely, how do we keep our lamps burning? How do we wait in faith? How do we sustain momentum and hope and joy in face of so much breaking around us? If being prepared means keeping our lamps lit, how in the world do we keep them from running out of oil? It starts, of course, with the bridesmaid reading. I have to admit, I've been watching The Golden Bachelor, and this reading reminds me a little bit of the show. There are all these women waiting for this one bridegroom, and he takes forever, God knows what he's doing, so they fall asleep, which is completely understandable. But then he arrives, and it's time, and some of them don't have any more oil in their lamps. And so they can't be at the rose ceremony. In fact, they get locked out. Jesus' meaning, I think, is pretty clear. He's the groom. We're the eager bridesmaids, but if we're not ready, we're going to be left behind. It's easy, I think, to see this reading through the lens of fear-mongering. If you don't go to church, if you don't pray, if you don't follow the commandments, you're getting left behind. The door is shut. You just weren't ready. Based on what Jesus promises elsewhere, and on who he is in general, however, I'm just not sure that's the message he's leaving us with. Be ready for God, or God will lead you behind. Maybe preparation is not so much about having the right stuff as it is about day after day claiming the love of lighting our way. A student of mine, Emilio, in 8th grade, preached on this text at Epiphany School last Wednesday. He was very good, painstakingly laying out the story and who was who in the parable. And then talking about what it means to be prepared, he wrote, "My mom is a person of faith. She keeps her light shining. She is always faithful to God, and she keeps her light shining by being grateful. It's hard work to be faithful. One thing I know is that my mom prays and gets energy from prayer. She started being thankful to God after I got cured. I know my mother became filled with a gratitude to God that does not leave her because now I'm healthy. Her joy is the oil that keeps feeding her lamp." Emilio had cancer when he was younger, and the treatments cured him. I'm sure Emilio's mother will be grateful every day for the rest of her life that her son was healed. I'm sure that gratitude will never leave her. But in my experience, only a few people are able to cultivate gratitude to the point where it truly transforms them, making them joyful and fruit-bearing and prepared. I have no idea if Emilio's mother actually lights her lamp with that gratitude, but how amazing that he sees her that way. When he experiences the power of her lamp shining out, he is sure that the source of all that love and heat and joy is her thankfulness for his healing. It is a reminder to me that when we live in faith and joy, other people are helped by it, are stretched by it, can feel it. In general, however, our culture is doing very little to encourage us to build a relationship with God. We need support in our work to keep a stock of oil at hand, to keep our light burning. But more and more in our secular society, there is very little motivating us to sustain our faith. For example, recently I needed to start getting prepared for Christmas, so I went in search of an Advent calendar. Perhaps you are unaware that if you Google Advent calendars in America in 2023, what comes up has nothing to do with Jesus or waiting or John the Baptist or incarnation. No, the Advent calendar trade, which as far as I can tell is booming, is now dedicated to getting a little gift every day leading up to December 25th. It's almost unbelievable. You can get the Kiehl's Advent Calendar and every day discover a new little body benefit product. Or the Wine Calendar, which every day introduces a new label. In short, you can get Advent daily calendars that deliver cookies, chocolates, makeup, whiskey, school supplies, Lego pieces, lingerie, golf supplies, and I'm just getting started. No longer are the calendars pieces of heavy stock paper. Advent calendars are giant wooden structures with drawers delivering all manner of goodies. The hook is, we know how tiring it is to prepare for the holidays. You deserve something a little special, just a little present every day, a pick-me-up. And thus we slip into that dangerous line our current culture draws between self-care and indulgence. Because that pick-me-up, that self-care isn't expanding your hope or learning something new or deepening your prayer. It's a little reward, a little consumption in a society so deeply consumptive that there seems no other way. Buried in those websites, I felt us just moments away from Rome's vomitorium, the last days, my friend used to intone. Last days indeed. I hope I am making my point about how our current society is not exactly pushing us towards spirituality. In my comparative religion class, we are studying Hinduism and Buddhism. Last week, we were looking at the 4 life stages, what they call ashramas. There is the student stage, there is the householder stage, and then there is the stage when one is done with the major commitments to family, and the goal becomes to devote oneself to spiritual practice with a commitment to service. Sometimes people go to the forest or go out with a begging bowl, depending on the kindness of strangers. The final life stage is marked by renunciation. Having fulfilled all prior obligations, a person is free to devote themselves entirely to spiritual growth. Here in our world and our time, I am just starting the stage of life where I go to dinner parties and everyone talks about retirement. And there is a lot of energy around retirement communities and playing golf and building houses and traveling everywhere, and almost no conversation about growing closer to God. It's about as far away from the begging bowl as can be imagined. It is about consuming more, seeing more, doing more. Not to flash back to the Golden Bachelor, but do you know how often people on the program say, we are doing something new and historic because we are proving to people how attractive and athletic and passionate older people can be. There is not a word about growing spirituality. Now, we all know we need to work on our relationship with God our entire lives. But there's something about the last quarter of our lives when we lose so much. People we love, some of our mobility, our identity as a worker, our physical vigor. It seems to me that especially during this time, we need to build our relationship with God, not because a failure to do so means being left behind, but because we need God now more than ever, and we are preparing, whether with awareness or with denial, for that final renunciation. Amidst this garbage heap of Advent calendars and seductive cruises and beguiling TV shows, we are supposed to be tending a lamp of faith. And we are, if Jesus is to be believed, supposed to be spending massive amounts of energy ensuring that our faith lamps don't go out. My Golden Bachelor, by the way, was an 84-year-old gentleman I went on retreat with at the Society of St. John the Evangelist 2 months ago. We were on a silent retreat, so we pretty much never spoke. But one day he said, I just want to learn to talk to Jesus like he's my best friend all day long. Now that is a theme for real retirement. In a time when church attendance in this country has been falling off, we have never needed church more, never needed to pray more. Yesterday I walked the bike path with my friend, and she paused at the bridge near Mattapan Station with the water slowly meandering beneath us and said, "Want to just stop here for a minute and say a prayer?" And so we did, side by side. And I was so grateful to her for that moment, for the encouragement to turn towards God in the middle of that joyful and beautiful walk. I'm not saying we need to be out in a cloak with a begging bowl. I get it. Pickleball, time to read, going to get a massage, seeing the Great Wall of China. It's all fun, great stuff. But the problem is, in the current time, it's so easy to get confused, so easy to be seduced into the idea that all of that is preparing us, that all of that is going to keep our lamp lit, and it won't. Jesus wasn't saying, store up your oil or you'll be abandoned. He was saying, store up your oil because love is coming, and he wants you to recognize what's right in front of you. The only way to hold on to hope we so need, that the world so needs, is to put time and energy into keeping our lamps of faith lit. Amen.